All right, all right. I'm Marlon Weems,
Well,
journeyman newsletter publisher. Man, don't step on me.
I'm trying. I'm trying
And
not
and
to.
here's my man, my co-host, and I'll just flip it to him.
I'm Arturo Dominguez, author of Decolonized Journalism. It's not like we're media trained over
I,
here,
I
so
know, really. I think actually this is what should let people know that we're not trained to do this. We all specialize in other things,
right,
but we're learning. We're learning. We got
right,
the
right.
tools, and at the end of it all, I think people are a whole lot more interested in us delivering the truth as opposed to us being slick and
Right.
media
I mean,
savvy and all that stuff.
there's something to be said for authenticity, and a lot of people you see on TV in the media or whatever, I mean, they're essentially actors, right? Like, I don't know. Have you seen the clips of like no local news anchors, and they'll post a video of them using their news voice, and then they'll post a clip of them using their regular voice,
Dude,
and it's
no, I have
it's
not
it's
seen that.
it's hilarious. It's pretty funny, but it just goes to show that basically it's a almost like voice acting. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. No,
but
that's
like
news to me, man. I thought those guys just talk like that.
no, I mean, dude, there's a lot of training that goes behind that. That's when I was doing all the courses to learn the journalism ins and outs of journalism. I
Yeah.
skipped all the I skipped all the TV stuff. I wasn't interested. You know what I mean? Like I
Man,
didn't.
let me tell you how unlikely it is that I would even be doing this. When I was in college, and I have been brutally honest with my lack of seriousness when I was in college, but I started off at some point as a journalism major, and I'm sitting up and this professor, and he was cool. This was in the 70s, so he had long hair and he was like, the cool professor. And I'm like, well, I want to be a reporter or a news anchor or a cameraman. He says, son, somebody had to die for you to get a chance to do that because everything was so analog. There was
Right,
no streaming or social media, and I mean, who knew, right?
right.
50 years
Yeah, I
later.
mean, but before cable, I imagine it was.
Oh, dude, it really was like
Yeah,
somebody had to just like fall out dead, and then
right.
the next person would step up, and you step up behind them, and it was like, yeah. So he really kind of crush crush my little dreams of being like, a news anchor on ABC or something, man. So
Yeah,
I
it reminds me of a friend of mine who went to UT and he wanted to study history. That was going to be his major, and the counselor or somebody up there asked him if he wanted to be broke the rest of his life. I was like, what the fuck?
what's crazy about it? It's just how everything flips. I mean, Hallie Claire, my daughter, is she's an artist, and so she's like, getting commissions, and I'm like, shoot, I should have moved in with you instead of you moving in with me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, no, she's getting really, I mean, some serious commission work, and she really, I should tell you, you know what? I should hang on a second. So she's gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna do this anyway. Um, so I mean, she's got like the proofs and stuff of her work.
Wow.
So this stuff is going to be on her website, pretty soon. So people will be able to buy really, really high quality prints. I mean, but it's just amazing how you just don't need a company around you anymore, right?
Right.
To do a
Right.
lot. I mean, certain things, obviously, but um,
That's true
like
though.
I was telling you, I had to go I had to get my breaks done, and here's how it came about. And it's just like we're in this world where everybody's hustling.
Yeah.
We're at the Valvoline place. Shannon's getting an oil change, guys. You drive in, you don't even have to get out of your car, and the guy says, your brakes are squeaking. And, we don't do that, but I do.
Yeah.
So this guy's got like a little side business, comes to your house with all the equipment.
Yeah.
And if I'd gone to the dealer, I've got a Hyundai. Oh man, I would have paid $500, $600.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still had to pay a few $100s, but the cat just rotated my tires while he had all this stuff going on, and I'm like, it helps him because I'm sure he's not making
Yeah.
a lot at the place where he works, and, I don't have my car isn't singing as I drive along.
Yeah, and
So,
it's a sad state of affairs. My son is a master mechanic, and
mm,
he has to go out on the weekends. Like he spends his whole weekends doing side work just
yeah,
to
I
make
mean,
ends
this
meet.
guy had everything
Yeah.
that you would expect if you went, like, to the dealer, but, you know, when you go to a dealership, there's all these levels of people that have gotta get paid.
Right.
You got the mechanic getting what, 40 bucks an hour. You got his boss, the sales, the head of service, he's
Yeah.
getting the commission, and then, the dealership itself's gotta make money. So, anyway, man, we got a lot to talk about, and so I guess we should get the show on the road, huh?
Let's do it.
Time for a show with no name. All right. You know what? Okay, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Zoran Mamdani is determined to destroy New York City, y'all.
Oh man, yeah. It's
He
over.
is
It's over.
determined to destroy I'm telling you, the billionaires are going to leave if he doesn't quit being so damn successful.
Yeah.
The guy's balanced the budget. And I've had people, oh, he didn't really, that's just smoke and mirrors. I don't know what people think these budgets are. I saw a video of a guy, and it's one of my sons that he's not MAGA. He's not even. I don't even think he's affiliated, party wise. He's just one. He's in his mid-30s. He's one of these guys that he's the guy that's the target market for
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson, Joe
Right.
Rogan. He doesn't have any allegiance to one side or the other, but he's just a skeptic and he doesn't really have all his facts straight. And I have to, we get into it. He sent me this some guy. I won't even say his name because he was dumb, but the guy starts off, and the comparison that he gives is, this budget deal looks really expensive, and I think it's some smoke and mirrors because, and his example, imagine if you had a credit card, and I just stopped right there. The government's not a damn credit card. I don't know what's wrong with these people. There is no equivalent in your household for a government.
Right.
It just isn't. And I mean, even if it's obviously a federal government, unless you're in the Eurozone or something, you can print your own money. Mamdani can't do that, but you know what he can do? Because the guy said, yeah, he's just pushing all these debts way out. And I'm like, have you ever heard of the bond market?
Right.
What do they think these things are? I mean, they just don't know. So
Right.
anyway, the the kicker, and I just been walking around the house saying, he's just gonna ruin everything.
Right.
He just got 1,000 people $50 tickets to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you've been keeping up with it. I've been listening, because Bloomberg, they're in that they got people in the metro area, and their headquarters is in New York, in Midtown Manhattan. And they've been talking about I guess the subway. It's like a Yankee game. There's a certain subway that takes you straight to the
Right.
venue. And I mean, they were, subway ride is like less than $5, I think, still, right?
Yeah.
And
Far
they
as I know,
were,
yeah.
but FIFA, because FIFA's putting these charges on stuff, it's like $100
Yeah.
just to get the subway. And it may be more than that. So yeah, Mamdani got at least 1,000 people a pretty good deal if they want to go And you know what? A bunch of them are probably gonna sell them tickets for $100. I don't know.
I mean, I
It is
probably would too. I
it
mean,
is New York, so
right.
there's
I mean,
that.
here in Houston, the average price is close to $600 for tickets to the World Cup.
Hmm. What?
And, you
How
know,
much?
600, those
Woo.
are the cheap ones.
Mm.
Yeah. And,
I
you know, you still got to pay for Metro and all that stuff too.
listen, man. We have America's messed up so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw an article where it was talking about people from Canada don't even want to come to the games because they don't want to come to America. They don't want to get hassled. If they happen to be brown, they don't want to, they just don't want all the stuff that goes with
Yeah.
coming to America now. It's just really sad. It's really
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. And, you know, the more you look at it, and, you know, I seen a lot of this too when we were up in Longview.
Mhm.
It's like they just want to tax everything. Like you can't do anything or, you know, without extra fees or extra something. And like you can't, there's
Well, a lot
nothing.
of these fees, though, you don't even know what it is.
Right. Right.
Who was it? I think it was Hallie. Somebody was talking to me the other day. I think it was Hallie. She's going to go somewhere. And oh, no, it was my brother in Arkansas. He's going to some event and you had to buy like 4 tickets, you know, just to have a table at whatever it was. And then there was like a $40 fee on top of the price. And this isn't even Ticketmaster. This is just some local stuff. So,
Wow.
you know, just hidden fees, man. Anyway, that's probably
So
the
yeah. I
happiest we're gonna talk about.
yeah, you know, I was
'Cause
real quick, I just wanted to say that I'm in Texas and I really don't give a damn how New Yorkers spend their tax money. I really don't.
you know, I mean, look, man, New York is a kind of it takes a lot to run a city like New York.
Yeah,
It
I can't
just
imagine.
does, and if not, it's easy for people who've never been there or lived there. I'm telling you, man, they because
Yeah.
they provide so many services. Like, you know what? I'm in North Carolina. Well, if I want to go to Wilmington, I have one option. Well, two, either drive or get a ride with somebody. There's no, or call an Uber. And, you know, a 30-mile Uber trip, I don't even know what that costs,
Nah, who
which I
knows? 100
should because
bucks.
I actually did Uber for, I Ubered 2 or 3 summers ago, kind of on a dare, but I don't want to talk about it. No, there was nothing wrong with Uber. It was a lot of fun, but I mean, it's a good way to wear your damn car out if you're not careful.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, New York. You just think about it. When I lived there, um, I lived in the city for probably I don't know 6 months to a year, but then I moved into you know northern or New Jersey, just right across the Hudson.
Right. North
And, you
Bergen,
know,
right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah,
North Bergen, yeah.
Yep. And didn't know this, the carjacking capital of the world.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't get carjacked, but you just have to pay a premium on insurance because you could. I mean, it was
yeah.
real easy to get, you know, your car snatched and you'll never see it again. But you know, you have options. I could take the bus, I could take the ferry. I think the entire time that I lived in that area, I probably drove my car to work maybe a half a dozen times in 13 years. Because
Right.
they just make it where why even do that, you know?
Right. I mean, dude,
But
you're gonna
those
spend
things
more
cost
time
money,
sitting.
man.
Yeah.
It costs money, you
Yeah.
know? I never had a job and I lived in various places, you know, in and around. And once I got out of Manhattan, it's man, it was difficult. I never was able to get to work in less than an hour. You know, I could get into the city faster, but
Right.
then, you know, you just have to manage it. And it's just a different way of life, but it's a lot to move people around and make it where you know, there's a certain level of convenience. And I keep hearing the billionaires are leaving, but they ain't left yet. You
Yeah. I
know,
mean,
they ain't left yet.
you know, they even if they leave, it's you know, you still have all that infrastructure there.
Of course.
You know, the billionaires aren't making that much of an impact, and they wouldn't if they left. You know, um, you want to leave. You're not contributing anyway, right? That's
Well,
that's basic,
I know, isn't that crazy?
right.
That's the whole thing. It's sort of like, well, okay, if they leave and they're not really paying taxes anyway, what about it?
Right.
Anyway, man. Um, Arturo, I guess we got to talk about Cuba because apparently Trump is determined to use up all our weapons.
I guess,
I
yeah.
guess. I don't know if he's getting a kickback on, the replacement parts. I don't know what's going on, but this guy is now he's fucking with Cuba and trying to well, he's indicted what? Raul Castro is how old? 90 something?
94, 94. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they indicted,
if folks wanna indict an old man, there's one sitting right there, right
yeah,
there in the
right.
Oval Office, right next to the DOJ. They just go get him. I don't know what's
Yeah.
wrong with him.
It's they indicted Raul Castro and 5 others, for something that happened in 94. And
Mhm.
if they had something on Raul Castro, they would have charged him back then when they charged 17 other people. One person served prison time that was taken into custody by the feds and was later released after a prisoner swap with Cuba a few years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and the people that were involved in the flyovers of Cuba at the time, the leader of that Brothers to the Rescue was a self-avowed terrorist. He told the Atlantic that he's a terrorist. He was trained by the United States to be a terrorist. Um, any country with a terrorist flying a plane and 3 planes are coming, and this wasn't like a one-off incident. They had been doing it for 18 months. Cuba had warned the U.S. The U.S. had warned the pilots. The U.S. could have stopped these pilots from flying into Cuba. Flying into Cuba from the
Now,
U.S. unannounced.
what was the name of the group that
Brothers to
was
the Rescue.
okay?
And
So they were
initially,
American citizens and they were going
well,
to or were they? I don't know a lot about it.
one I know one was an American citizen. Believe everybody else were either green card holders. I think they were all
Okay.
green card holders except one. But they were warned. The U.S. could have stopped them from the flyovers of Cuba. Flying over Cuba, what they were doing is actually a federal crime in the United States, just like it was for those people in the boat to try to attack Cuba from a boat. That's also a federal crime. And they ignored all that. The Bill Clinton administration could have easily stopped them by just suspending or revoking their pilots' licenses to start with. They could have grounded the planes. But when you look at the planes that they were flying and 18 months worth of warnings and all these things, these were old military planes, and you could still see the old markings from the military on the planes because they weren't really painted over very well. And even then, they were warned as they were approaching Cuban airspace, and they responded with "We're coming anyway," arguing that they have a right because they're Cuban citizens, blah, blah, blah. They get shot down. And it again, it's if 3 planes flew from Cuba to the US, ignoring 18 months worth of warnings, and then you're
We'd
going to
shoot them
ignore,
down.
right? You ignore the FAA, then you ignore the military. Yeah, they're going to get roasted before they come close to the United States. So
what? Wait
it's
a
just a
minute.
pretext. It's a pretext.
So yeah. I mean, because it's like it's like we do shit to people, and then when the exact same thing comes back at us, it's like all kinds of, oh my God, these people, these savages are attacking us. I mean, it's just
Right.
crazy how
Right.
and I think maybe it used to work 30, 40 years ago when people couldn't, when information was sort of under lock and key and you couldn't really, you had 3 stations,
Right.
ABC, CBS, and NBC, and you just kind of had to take their word for it. But it's just a little more difficult, I think, to to sort of get away with that stuff now.
Yeah, I was on Under the Shadow podcast today, and that episode is going to be out next week. And it's a really good podcast.
Mhm.
But we were talking about it today about how the US just continues to use the same tactics that it's used for decades or centuries. And it should, the cyclical nature of it just makes things more obvious. And as we've said before on here, that the incompetence of the Trump White House has lifted the veil on what the U.S. does to other countries, and they have. And then, now you got people looking back into history, right? When Trump did the oil embargo on Cuba, everybody started looking back into history about the sanctions, and the oil embargo shifted the conversation in the United States about Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are opposed to what the U.S. is doing. Everybody's screaming to lift the sanctions, to leave Cubans alone. If they want to be communist, they have a right to be communist, self-determination, all these things. And even though the conversation changed, it hasn't changed anything for the White House, because they're fascists. And but we were talking about the cyclical nature of it, and I attribute it to, and I suspect that this is what it is. It's every time there's a new generation come about, the U.S. government is like, hey, look, let's convince these young folks of the same thing we convinced everybody else of. And I think a lot of what we saw a lot of things in our generation, Gen X, right? And and even boomers, we saw a lot of stuff, and we saw the sanctions on Cuba, and we've seen it. And me with I'm a little biased because I have family and friends in Cuba and stuff, but we can share that knowledge, and now we have social media, right? So sometimes it's just about being blunt. It's just about just directly using language that most people are going to understand, right? You got to keep in mind that most people in the U.S. read in a 6th or 8th grade, 10th grade reading level. You got to keep it that way, right? To really reach a broader audience.
Sure.
And, I think that that's part of what changed the narrative. It's as simple as lift the sanctions,
Right.
They're starving, they're suffering. Why? Because of our
You
sanctions.
saw back when Obama was in office, we loosened, we tried to normalize the relationship, and and then to your point, you think about it, and then you get Trump coming in. He's damn near 80 years old. He's in his 70s when he won the first time, I guess. And he's acting like this is the Cold War.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it ain't.
Yeah. And when Obama tried to normalize relationships, that was the relationship. It was a very smart move, because it was economic benefits on both ends. And for Cuba, the economic benefit was visible. Like, we could see the change. We could see things improving really fast. And it didn't embolden the communist government to be more oppressive or anything different or anything like that. They just were able to provide more services for the people. Their hospitals were booming, and they were getting medical equipment in and stuff like that. And of course, but Obama was limited in what he could do because of the Helms-Burton Act. And coincidentally,
I'm not familiar. The Helms-Burton.
So Bill Clinton pushed the Helms-Burton Act after this planes got shot down, because supposedly, according to Hillary, he was trying to normalize relationship with Cuba, but on the surface, it never looked that way. So I don't know where she gets that from. But the Helms-Burton Act basically codified the sanctions into law. They were previously, it were sanctions that had to be upheld by each administration, to keep them in place, and it allowed any president to lift them if they chose to. But with the Helms-Burton Act, it requires so many different things that are dubious, right? So they want free and fair elections, in order to lift sanctions according to the Helms-Burton Act. Can you define that in this country? Because you can't.
Maybe we should start living by that rule.
Right. It's like the charges against Castro. They asked to define like what, how they came to the conclusion, what the DOJ can't.
Yeah, what's the overt act that he did that makes it where he's,
right. When Todd Blanche was asked how Raul Castro is responsible for the shoot down when he didn't directly give the order, they couldn't answer the question. And, it's the same thing with any country, right? Like, if planes were approaching like the scenario we played out earlier, if 2-3 planes from Cuba were approaching the U.S., the president doesn't make the decision to shoot them down. Nobody in the White House does. The military has standing orders.
Right.
You know, you shoot them down before something happens. You don't have time to have discussions and debates and all that stuff. Well, that's what happened in Cuba. You know, the military had standing orders. They did what they were supposed to do. They issued multiple warnings. You know, they, told them that if you come into this airspace, you're going to get shot down, and they came anyway. So, I mean, if the goal was to provoke the Cuban government, mission accomplished, because you did, and it cost you your life. Like, you don't play around with governments that have robust militaries like that. I mean, any military, you just don't go flying your plane over because you think you have the right to. You may have that right, but in that scenario, you just don't do
Well,
it.
you've given up your rights when you start,
Well, that's
when
true
you
too.
start and when you start encroaching on another country's airspace and you don't, when they say you need to stand down and you don't do it, then all bets are off.
Right. And the leader of this group, he wasn't just an avowed terrorist, right? He was part of the Bay of Pigs invasion. He parked a boat off the coast of Cuba and fired at a restaurant with
Oh my
with
gosh.
with like a huge ass machine gun, like a 50 millimeter gun or
Oh,
whatever, because he thought Raul Castro or Fidel Castro was having lunch in that restaurant.
so
This
so did
dude
he
was
kill people in the restaurant or what happened
I
to
ye-
them?
that I don't know for sure. As far as I know, no. But he did a lot of extensive damage. And when you see these people with the boats trying to go over there and start war and provoke the Cuban government, that's exactly what these guys did in 94. And what they did in 94 and what they did a few months ago are both federal crimes in the United States, and they're crimes in Cuba. And these guys they don't realize that flying a plane over international waters with guns on board, or driving a boat in international water with guns on board, is an international crime.
It's probably
It's
not
also
smart.
right. No, I mean, that's how you end up dead, like all these people do. You can't point guns at people and threaten entire governments and not expect to get shot. That's just doesn't work that way.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's brazen, and
I just don't have it in me to do that kind of shit.
hell no.
You could just call me a coward. I am not gonna fly into another country's air. I'm not even gonna be a passenger on a plane
Right.
doing something like that. That's so
Right, and then to top it off, nobody wants to talk about the jetliner that the CIA-backed terrorists blew up, killing 73 people off the coast of Barbados on a flight to Cuba. Right, it was a Cuban jetliner, and the two CIA-trained terrorists, one was arrested in Venezuela, escaped prison. Another one escaped from Mexico as he was being detained, and they were both allowed to live their lives free in the United States and died as free men after killing 73 people. And a plot that the FBI knew about, informed the CIA, and the CIA told the FBI to stand down, that they would take care of it, and they didn't. They let the
hmm.
plane explode, killing 73 people. So you don't want to, the US doesn't want to talk about that, right? And that's whole duplicity, the hypocrisy of the United States. How many people have we killed in international waters on boats? Right? Don't give me this story
Oh,
about
this
Cuba
what
shot.
about just in the last year?
Right, right.
How
Like,
many
don't give me this
people
story
have we
about
just
Cuba.
blown out of the water for,
Right. Everybody's like, those planes were in international airspace. First of all, no, they weren't. And secondly, are you acknowledging that what Trump is doing by blowing up boats in international waters are illegal? Because you can't have both, right? And that shuts most people down, because you can't. All they say is, I'm pretty sure those boats were loaded with drugs. I'm like, prove it. Prove they were, because you can't. They destroyed everything. There's no evidence to prove that that's the case. So yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing with Cuba and trying to arrest Castro, which I don't know how you're going to disappear a 94-year-old man. He's pretty much disappeared already. You know what I mean? He's not.
So what was Castro's role back at the time?
He was a general. He's still a
Okay.
general, but yeah, he's just a general in the military and an advisor to Castro and to Fidel and stuff. So, he was head of the military at the time. But if you're going to prosecute him, you better start prosecuting Pete Hegseth as the head of the military, killing people in the
Hmm.
Gulf and in the
So
Caribbean.
so if Iran wanted to bring charges against Hegseth for
Right.
these 170 odd children that got killed in Iran, I'm guessing we would just turn him over, right?
Yeah, right. And that's the
No,
thing.
we would
They
then see that's the hypocrisy right there.
right, right,
We,
and
for the longest time, didn't want Warren to act like they blew up the school themselves, and,
right.
which
Yeah,
would
I
have
mean,
meant they would have had to have some of our armaments
right.
to do it.
Yeah, that's where Donald Trump came up with the whole somebody stole some tomahawks. They could have stole them. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, he's just saying, man, I tell you what, speaking of Trump, I heard him on, I turned on something, and I guess, I mean, this guy is finding more shit to do besides running the actual government and helping people. He was at a site, I think it was something to do with this arch that he wants to build.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was just walking around going, "That's dude, that's a lie." No, it wasn't. Stop. I mean, it was everything he said was demonstrably false. Just
Right.
one thing after another. Just one thing after another. He's he's talking about, more people working than ever before. Well, there's more people in the country than ever before. So, it's just really, yeah, it's just really frustrating when you try to be a person who deals in facts.
Yeah,
It's hard to listen to this guy, man.
it really
It
is.
is hard to listen to him.
Yeah, you know, I, I deal with that a lot, especially talking about Cuba. A lot of people are like, oh, that's BS. And I'm like, bro, like, read my article. It's well sourced. All the
Look it
data's
up.
there.
I
Like,
mean, it's
I have
real
data.
easy.
Right. You have feelings. And like, I don't know. You get into debates with people who, for example, one guy was like, Cuba hasn't had elections in 65 years. I'm like, bro, you really don't know nothing about Cuba, do you? But it's just, I don't know. People fall for it, and
Well, you know what, man? I have
it's that smooth
come to the
brain.
conclusion that, America is an enormous country. Lots of different vernaculars and ethnicities and all this stuff.
Right.
And because the country is so large, I think it makes us just enormously, we're so insular that we have no idea outside of America what people think about us. I don't feel like we have a grasp on, because we're insular and we're constantly told ain't nothing better than this,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so when you live in Arkansas and you've really only been to Memphis, that's as far as you've been outside the state. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, I have a
I-
a late aunt, and she and they never had kids. They went to the Olympics. This is back in the 70s, and they drove to Canada from Arkansas. They'd really never been out of the state. And they get to Canada, they didn't even go to the Olympics. They just wanted they watched the Olympics on TV.
Yeah.
They just weren't even comfortable like going into all of the pageantry and the crowds, and they just couldn't handle it. So
Yeah.
they drove all the way to Canada, rented, lived in a nice hotel for a week or however long it was, and just watched the Olympics on TV.
I mean,
You
sometimes,
know,
right?
I mean,
Sometimes.
hey, look, I mean, I don't, I'm not judging them. It's just that when it happened, we were like, well, why didn't you just stay at home and watch the Olympics? But
Yeah.
they went to nice restaurants and stuff. But I can tell you, man, a lot of folks rarely leave their state.
Yeah.
I got cousins up in Chicago. I mean, I'm sure it's different now, but when we were kids, we'd go up to Chicago and hang out with them. They didn't even know what was going on in Chicago.
Yeah.
Never went to baseball game, never did any of the stuff. Just the neighborhoods were so segregated
Yeah.
that you just really didn't even leave your own neighborhood, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's that way in a lot of cities because
Yeah.
most of everything you need is right there. Your grocery stores, and all that
Just
stuff.
right down the block, and you just
Right.
don't have to
Right.
go anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
And a
yeah,
lot of,
I think that's, if I had to do it all over again, like a complete do-over, I would leave the country more than I have. Because if I
Yeah.
leave now, y'all might not see me again. I'm well, I mean, I'll be streaming from somewhere else if I
Where's
leave
Marlon?
now.
Well, he decided to retire in Spain.
Dude, all right, don't give me no ideas now. I'm
Right?
serious though, man. I mean, I have never been to Europe, which is
Yeah.
just dumb. I mean, I
Yeah.
was in New York. You could just get on a plane and go anywhere for not, it's at the time it was relatively inexpensive to go to just anywhere outside. And I just, I'm so focused on trying to make a buck and running a trade, doing all that stuff because you think it's the
Yep.
most important thing in the world.
Same here.
And now I'm looking back going, shit, I should have gone to that bachelor party in Iceland that time. you know,
Yeah.
I mean, not
That
so
would be
much for the
cool,
bachelor
actually.
party, but I mean, dang, Iceland, right? Why didn't
Iceland
I go to
sounds cool.
Iceland
Yeah.
that time? It would have been fun, I'm sure, but maybe God was looking out for me.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Marlon, you know what? You need to stay in Manhattan, son. Ain't
Yeah, I
nothing for
mean,
you in Iceland.
yeah, like I've been to Mexico because
Oh,
it's
I've been
right
to
there.
Mexico, yeah.
It's right there. For me, it's a few hours. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I've been to Mexico. I have, been a couple of places in South America, but that was a long time ago, man, and you
Yeah.
just they got us grinding so hard here, man, we can't even look up, you
Yeah.
know? We're so
I
worried and
For
so
me,
stressed.
when I went to Mexico, it was funny because you crossed the border and you still felt like you were still in South Texas or North Mexico. It's the same
Mhm.
basic thing. There's just a wall or a border there that doesn't really change anything. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like so many people from Mexico work in the US and so many people in the US work in Mexico and they cross that border every day, all day long. And it was a trip because, you go into Mexico and you're like, hey, there's that dude I just saw in Texas
I'll tell you
40
what,
minutes ago.
man, when I went, Shannon and I went to Cancun on our honeymoon. Dude, and I got down there and I'm like, gas is 5 cents a gallon? What the what? They still had Esso,
Oh,
they didn't
yeah.
have Exxon, they still had Esso.
I remember
And
Esso.
yeah, and people were literally and this happened to me more than once, and I think it kinda speaks to how we are. People would tell me, "Slow down, bro." They would just I'm trying to, like, I don't know, just whatever, and people would be like, "Okay, just chill," and I would get at first I was getting mad, and then I got thinking about it. You know what? I'm supposed to be kinda relaxing. I don't know why I feel like everything's gotta go so fast,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm,
I was just dude, I'm sorry. I was just looking in the chat room, and I'm about to get mad at Jason Gale over here because he's naming off all these places he's been, and
I know, right?
it's kinda getting on my nerves, Jason. London, Barcelona, someplace I can't even say, Lisbon, Munich. Okay, okay, you made your point, friend.
You're
Dang it.
depressing us.
Thank God my children aren't watching this show because they'd be looking at dad like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah. You failed us.
Really, Dad, you failed us.
That's funny. Yeah,
So, look,
it's just
here's
weird
another
how
one.
it's
Where
how
are
it's
you going on vacation, Marlon? I live on an island, and vacation is a block away on the beach. That's it. I'm not
yeah.
going anywhere. I can't. No, I mean, I'm laughing, but damn, it's really sad
Yeah, I
that we
mean,
just
vacation for me was going out to like Lake Cherokee out in Longview, where I was
dude,
just at.
dude,
So
don't
it's
get
right.
I know. Look, folks, I love my life. I get to live in a place that's relatively, um, low stress. Okay, we're about to have to put Jason out because he's just really now he's flexing. He's,
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Bali. I don't even know
October.
where, dude. Okay, Jason, your privileges are about to be suspended, young man.
That's funny.
Oh, no, we don't do that, man. You know what? Our chat rooms are always open to everyone. We don't limit it to paid subscribers. You, by the way, and we don't really talk about this enough. We're like right now, we're simulcasting on YouTube and Facebook and all. You know, so if I mean, hey, I like Substack, but everybody, you know, other people like other things. So we try to make it where we're we're becoming platform agnostic. I
Yeah.
actually heard, um, you know, Karen Ataya. I think I'm saying her name right. She she had a different. She's I think it was like polyamorous towards platforms or something like that. Man, I like that a lot better. But I think
Yeah.
it's smart though, right? We don't
Right.
because we never know. I mean, Elon Musk could show up and ruin this like he did Twitter. We we have no
Right.
control.
You know, when I got banned on TikTok for talking about the Venezuelan elections in 2024, you know, that made it very obvious that we needed to be more platform agnostic. So, you know, I
Hmm.
switched. I started using the Instagram edits to make videos, and then I just upload them to places. So I don't rely on TikTok. I'm hardly ever on there, especially after the sale.
This is interesting. Look at this. Look at this comment right here, and it's kind of interesting. I guess the question is why should we leave America? And this person obviously is unaware that more people last year, more people left America for good than came to America.
Yeah,
So you might want to
yeah,
look into that.
right. And you know, when you sanction countries and create suffering, and then shortly after mass migration events happen in those countries, it's because they're correlated. It's because one caused the other.
Hmm.
So you know, you can't sit here and say, "Oh, so many people left Cuba and so many people left Venezuela." Yeah, it started right after Trump's 2017 sanctions that created suffering and starvation and all these things, and created mass migration out of both of those countries. The correlation isn't just there; the data is. There's
Hmm.
tons of reports that prove it. So if another country had the ability to sanction us like we did Cuba, I promise you, millions would be leaving. Millions would be leaving, and they'd all be in Mexico, and Mexico would be building a wall. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't that
So
just be something? And you know what? If Mexico started building their own wall, I guarantee you we'd want to attack them. If we would say it
right,
was an act of war.
right.
What do you mean we can't come to your country anytime we want to?
Some
Oh
guy
man.
in the YouTube thing is saying Hispanics for Trump, and I need to remind
Yeah.
him that Hispanics typically don't support pedophiles. So no,
Yeah, they
you're gonna
kind of
lose. You're
I
gonna
mean,
lose that
I'm
one.
not Hispanic, but I'm not surprised that they frown on that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
we don't. Yeah, nobody in Latin America. There are not many people that are fans of Trump, and in the United States, there aren't many Latinos fans of Trump right
well,
now.
I'll
So
tell you what, there might whatever the number was, it ain't there now.
yeah, you can cut that in half probably.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Well, you know,
Republicans typically enjoyed roughly a 33% support in the Latino vote. For Trump, it
mm,
was pretty high. I expect it to be that or lower after this presidency. So, yeah, he's going to lose any gains he had in the Latino community in
it's
that.
gonna be really interesting. You know, I mean, I guess we should talk about, you know, Tuesday's elections or primaries. And, you know, I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for Republicans. And I have to be honest with you. I have never seen a scarier bunch of people in my life because, you know, you hear these stories behind closed doors. They're complaining about Trump and he's stupid and, you know, saying all this stuff, but they won't say it to his face. And I'm like, you know, I hear these stories about people concerned for their safety. And I'm like, Martin Luther King didn't have shit. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
all the people who are responsible for getting us the rights that benefit everybody that they're slowly trying to get rid of. I mean, John Lewis didn't have no like
right.
back. I mean, you know, he didn't have like security. And these people, you know, the white kids that came to the South and put their lives on the line for civil rights, they didn't have, not sure none of them were millionaires, right? And I just don't understand what these people are so damn afraid of. I mean, I know what they say they're afraid of. And look,
Yeah,
they got some crazy people in their party, but
that's what you get.
don't look at me.
Right.
Don't look at me. This is what they built.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Charlie Kirk got shot. I was like, he died in in an environment of his own making. It's the same thing for Republicans. They are suffering in an environment of their own making. They're living in fear of an orange blob that shits himself. Like, seriously.
Okay.
And I get it.
Oh
Trump has
man.
ties to Russian mafia and he can put hits on people and blah blah blah. But he's still a pedophile, and you're still defending a pedophile. And if you don't get anywhere without taking risk. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all the greatest leaders that accomplished anything, even John Brown, knew that eventually they were going to get somebody was going to come for them. They did it anyway because it had to be done. And
So
it's
in a word, man, I look. I mean,
yeah,
basically, right?
yeah,
I'm
right,
sorry, y'all. It's the week is winding down, and I'm getting a little mischievous, and I don't know what can you say. I mean, I have to find some kind of humor in this shit because it's. I always say this. I came up in the South in Arkansas. I watched my parents, kind of do their little part for civil rights. It wasn't like they were famous or anything, but
right,
when you see these crowds in different places, they would have been one of the people, or a couple in the crowd. And like we're saying, these guys, um, what's the cat that just lost his seat down in Louisiana? Bill, shoot. He's a doctor, Cassidy.
oh
But
yeah, Cassidy, yeah,
Cassidy
yeah,
just lost his seat. Now he's got all kind of smoke for Donald Trump.
right,
And it's like, man, we really could have used that when RFK was sitting up there trying to get through, and get through the Senate. He was the deciding vote. He thought that was really going to help him with Trump because Trump's first term, he voted to impeach him.
yeah,
I don't know what you got to tell these people. You can't fuck with Trump. You can't. You cannot. He's never going to be there for you. He's
right,
never gonna be there for you.
right. And that's what kills me. It's like these
And they keep doing it
Latinos.
over and over.
Right. It's like these Latinos and even with black men that were like supportive of Trump. I'm like, he don't give two shits about you. Like,
Dude,
he's not gonna save you, he's not gonna help you, he's not gonna pass policies to help Latinos or black people. He's not gonna do any of that. So why bother?
I mean, I have heard people try to, well, the big beautiful bill, I'm getting no tax on tips. And it's like, so were you paying taxes on your tips? Nobody pays. I got a daughter who's right now waiting tables, at a restaurant.
Yeah,
And dude, yeah, she's gonna, there's a certain amount that's gonna be on credit cards or whatever. Okay, she's gonna have to claim that part. But the
right,
majority of the money that she makes is cash. So in
right,
order to get the no tax on tips, you have to claim that cash that the government don't even know about. Who the hell's gonna do that?
right, right. Nobody
It's
nobody
dumb.
voluntarily. It's like a stripper, for example. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, yeah,
They're not
yeah,
gonna report the thousand
yeah,
dollars they made that night. They might report
really.
150. Yeah, I ain't
Can't
stupid.
you just
Anybody
see
that's
him
stupid.
backstage filling out a doggone what, a W-2 or
Yeah, 1099 or whatever
W-9
it is,
10? Yeah,
W9.
yeah, yeah.
Get the
Oh
fuck out of
boy.
here.
And you have to write down, all these crumpled up dollar bills. I mean, come on.
Right, right,
Nobody's doing that. And they hear these things and no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And it's like, eh, okay, you'll learn, I guess.
right,
Maybe.
right, right. And
Mhm.
it's the same thing with the tax cut package, claiming everybody was going to save all this money, and then all of a sudden, the poorest Americans were paying taxes,
Well,
and
guess
billionaires were paying less.
and not only that, whatever money you would have gotten is going straight in your gas tank right now.
Yeah, that's true. That is
Whatever
very
little
true.
bit of money that you may have gotten, it's either you better not eat a hamburger because it's gonna beef
Yeah.
is the highest it's ever been in the history of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it's hard to believe. Man, I gotta tell you, now that I think I haven't had a hamburger
It's
in
been a minute.
7 months, man.
Have you seen how much beef costs?
Yes, it's
Jesus.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Dude, we eating chicken tonight. I'm telling you, I better not see a chicken running around here loose because they
Yeah.
are gone.
That's what we're making some
I
jerk
mean,
chicken.
dude, I'm telling you, it's Memorial Day weekend. Normally, it would be brisket. Not this time. Unless I
Yeah.
receive some sort. You know what? If I get some of that money from that fund, though, because
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I said this to Egberto the other day. Todd Blanche, he folds under pressure.
Big time.
He folds under pressure, man. He was anybody can file a claim for this. And see, I hadn't even noticed this at first because all the newspapers were saying it was like 1.8 billion, but it's
Mhm. 0.776.
1.776. It's like,
So
can y'all
corny.
just can't even be serious about anything,
No,
right?
it's corny as hell. Yeah.
But there's some people who fall for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I think, how on social media, like sometimes it's the K-pop kids or different folks, and they'll just flood these hotlines, with stuff. I think every person of color, every black person in America should file for reparations damages. The government. The guy said, if the government has wronged you,
I mean, it has wronged me. You know,
if the government's wronged you,
Biden's State
I
Department
say
wasn't
we
nice.
I say we light them up, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Biden's State
But don't hold
Department
your
and
breath
Trump
because you ain't gonna get no
and
money.
Trump's DHS have been very ugly to me.
Well,
I deserve 2 checks.
So Preddy and Rachel Good, I
Right.
would assume their estates are gonna be filing some claims.
I would.
It's like they just don't
100%.
think of the next step.
Right.
So
They don't.
And the crazy part about this money, which by the way, today, I think these Republicans are looking at these polls, dude, and because they are like, we're gonna kill that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting loud about it.
Yeah, they are. There's a
And
lot of pushback to that fund.
it's a lot of pushback. And
Yeah.
this ballroom, I don't know. This arch, though, I mean, what?
Dude, did you see this gold statue of his at Mar-a-Lago or
Did
somewhere?
I?
There was a bunch of
Arturo,
evangelicals, like they did this
I
thing.
know, praying all over the guy, and
It's so ridiculous. Well, it was toilet papered the next day, so it's good for a laugh.
man. Yeah, I actually did see that, and it's just, in fact, there's a meme floating around about that statue.
Oh, it'll be covered in bird
Here,
shit. in no time.
here it is.
Oh,
I mean, the
you know
internet
what's funny?
is undefeated, isn't it?
You know what's funny is I used to call Saddam Hussein so damn insane.
Man, you know what? I think me and Saddam Hussein had the same birthday. That really upset me.
That's weird.
Yeah, yeah, but hey,
Man.
I'm just trying to hold it up for April. I'm like, yeah, they made a mistake with him, but I'm here now. So Arturo, man, it's good to see you back in your home spot, and
Yeah.
you're looking good, man. I
Appreciate
hope
it.
all the family stuff is, if not, out of the woods, at least heading in the right direction.
Yeah, that we're definitely heading in the right direction. Strokes are nothing to play with, even minor ones, like the one I had. The one that my father-in-law has is a little worse than mine, but he's mobile. He has the use of his, extremities. He's just not very verbal. And
I think
that's
that part takes a long time with, depending on
right.
how bad it was.
I mean, for a long time, I was calling frogs, cockroaches, squirrels, or lizards were squirrels. Like I had a hard time with that for a good 2 or 3 years.
Mm.
And like there was a ton of stuff that I was constantly mixing up like that. I had to relearn to speak Spanish, relearn to play guitar, but it all started to come back. The guitar stuff was the easiest, I think, because of I think muscle memory. So you
So you
finally
played a guitar, huh?
yeah, I play guitar and bass. But yeah, that was the easiest for me. Spanish wasn't too bad. I will never forget calling my dad and him speaking to me. He'll speak English, and I found myself not knowing how to say anything. And I
Wow.
had to get my mom on the phone and explain it to him, and then tell him I call him back. And I had to wait like a month or two before I could even communicate with him. And
Mm.
my dad's 92, so not being able to call him had me worried for a while. But it's dealing with this stuff is it's tough. And like what I published today, a note to my readers, kind of explaining to them because I went through it in 2014, and trying to help Chad get through his. And it's useful because my wife has been through it too. She kind of knows the process.
Mhm.
But our thing was, to get up there to help. We struggle ever since my stroke. We lost everything. This stuff. But for the listeners and for the viewers, I just wanted to explain. Like, if you read what I posted today, it explains it. But we had to essentially coordinate rides between family members. Like, one take us from Houston up to one town, drop us off. Another family member pick us up, take us another leg of the way, because it's a good several 100-mile drive to get up there. And coordinating that is stressful. It's embarrassing.
Mhm.
um it makes you really feel like shit. And after being up there for close to a month and then coming home, you get into these depressive states, about your station in life and all these things. And honestly, writing that little note to my readers helped a lot. Like, by the time I was done, I felt so much better. Like, so much weight was lifted off. And I gotta say, a lot of people came through for me, man. A lot of people did. And I can't thank them enough for that. After reading that, a lot of people are, really doing the thing. And it's like what you said before, we came live, is, a reminder to like our readers and stuff that, like, we're barely getting by. You and I both,
Well,
most of
yeah, I mean, I talk about my, my professional history, but, people don't realize, I mean, you can dude, if you live in New York and you make a $500,000 a year, which, I mean, there are people who get salaries like that, but it's an expensive place to live. It's a shock. I used to go to New York all the time, but it's different when you live there. And
yeah.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I left New York in 2012. I didn't even live in the city. I lived just across the Hudson in little town Edgewater.
Okay, Edgewater. Yeah.
Okay. My rent, and I had it wasn't like a big mansion, it was a townhouse. My rent was 3 grand a month. That was in 2012. So I don't even know what it costs to live in New York now.
Yeah.
But I mean, those kind of
Can't imagine.
things. Now, don't get me wrong, that was my choice to live there. But
Right.
I guess all that to say, I didn't move to North Carolina with like a big old bag of gold over my shoulders. Like what's
Would have been nice.
like McDuck, like I wasn't
Right.
jumping off
Scrooge
into
McDuck.
like a swimming pool full of golden coins or anything like that. And man, I am I'm on my second family. So I got 2 sons that, one next month or in July will turn 40. And so, you raise 2 sets of kids and I mean, neither one of my older kids went to college. The oldest one went to trade school. Um, but I got one kid still in college.
Yeah.
And so all that to
Wow.
say, look, I'm not asking folks to feel sorry for me. I mean, you make your choices. And
Right.
for me, at a certain point, being rich was not um, the primary goal.
No.
And I'll tell you what, when I first moved here, I think maybe it kind of was, but when one of your kids says, God, Dad, I'm glad we moved here because when we lived up there, I didn't even know you because they never saw me
Right.
because I was chasing that money,
Yeah.
working 70, 75 hours a week. And I learned a lot and I use it today, but I'm just saying, you make these sacrifices, and at a certain point, um, the idea of being a millionaire just kind of lost the luster
Right.
compared to, taking my kids to school every day and picking
Right.
them up and doing all the things.
Yeah. I
You know
mean,
what I mean? And
simple
so,
financial stability would be nice.
well, yeah, I'm not talking about like, going out. Well, I wouldn't mind being able to go get an Aston Martin, but
There ain't no
that's not
lie.
what we're asking for. Unless
Yeah.
there's somebody out there that's got it like that, I'm right over here. But no, I looked on Substack, and it's kind of tough when you look and you see. I guess now the default when you set up for paid subscribers, I guess the default now is $8 a month and $80 a year. Well, I'm not. I've I've been on Substack, going back to when I was just a newsletter. My newsletter, it's always been the same. It's always been $5 a month, fifty
Right.
dollars a year, and like today through the holiday, there's a discount forever. So it's like I don't know, $40 a year or 30, something like that. I forget what, but it's just. Because I think that you and I both provide one thing that I think we provide, aside from the good work that you do and what I try to do, we're accessible. People ask me
Right.
questions and I try, if I see it, I try, if I know the answer, I'll try to answer it.
Right.
Or I'll write something and they have a comment, but it's like, well, explain such and such.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Most of the time on social media, most like journalists or writers or stuff like that will ignore the comment section. It's like a post and ghost situation.
mhm.
And, that doesn't really serve anyone. And I don't know how you can, feel out your audience and, see what's going on by just looking at your analytics. Like I don't even really look at analytics much because I spend so much time and rather than focus on analytics, I focused on talking to people and
Mhm.
hearing from them. And, it's helpful. It drives conversations. Like people ask questions that might result in an article because they'll ask a question you don't know the answer to, and you're like, hey, you know
Mhm.
what? That's pretty freaking important. Like we should do this and let's look into it and publish something. And a lot of times, like when we're doing live streams, we interact with people, we talk to them. A lot of other big, especially the big name money type of, accounts don't interact with their audience. And
Man.
it's kind of shameful.
It's yeah, but they come from a different world where they're just
They
in their
do.
bubble, and the only people they talk to are each other.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
I'll look sometimes at like all the live streams that are set up, and I'm like, this is like watching TV. And look, I
Yeah.
I guess I mean that's them. I'm not trying to be them. I'm over here trying to be me, and this is kind of how I do it. And
Right.
and I don't mind. Um, Now, okay, if it's somebody that's just operating in bad faith, that's one thing. But
Right.
anyway, I mean, I guess all that to say, folks, if you're able to become a supporter, give it some thought. If you think what we're doing is worthy, and you want to help us continue, please do.
Hey,
I
we're both running sales, and if the standard fee now is $8 a month, you could probably get both of us for that.
for real. I mean, yeah,
I mean, no lie. Right now. I'm running a sale
we're
35 a year. So
yes, we're on sale.
right,
But you know what? I actually want to, get a little bit nerdy, and this, I guess, maybe we can close out after this. But um, I was working on this in I do a lot of
yeah,
stuff, and I want folks to look at. There's this, you look at this graph going across, and you see that yellow line, the one that just kind of spikes up. That's West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures. a few days ago. So what's that telling us? That's the November contract. So people in the
Okay.
future believe that's where oil is going to be in November. Okay.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? That tells you that the market thinks that's how bad it's going to be going into the midterms.
Wow.
If Democrats can't win on that shit, I just can't help them.
Right.
I
No
cannot help
shit.
them. I saw that, and I will acknowledge. I actually saw that somewhere else on another economist that's on Substack that a guy that I follow, the Australian guy, and I can't even think of his name now, but yeah, that is. I'll tell you another thing to look at, and I've got to I geek out on these charts, man, because that's
Yeah.
just where I come.
I
It's
know.
my where I come from. I can't help it, and I start looking
Right.
at this stuff, and so when people say, "Oh, I'll never use AI," that's what I use AI for because I can go on to the Fed's website and download data and
Right.
put it in there, and I can go to the BLS and get their data, but I could never create something that complicated myself. I could
It would
draw a
take
pic.
forever. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we used to have guys that did rudimentary chart. I mean, we're talking about PowerPoint stuff, and that's like a whole different level. So that's the kind of thing that I do that I just sort of give it away. I'll post it on Threads and say a few things about it, but it's the kind of thing if you got a research report, like, say JP Morgan puts out research that's just on economic, what they think is going to happen. That's the kind of stuff you'll see,
Okay.
right? And I'm not saying nobody else on Substack can do it, but apparently they're not giving it away. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, so all that to say, folks, help us help you.
Man, we do a lot of hard work, a lot of good
Yeah,
work.
help us help you. So with that, Arturo, I think I'm gonna go get some of this chicken.
Yeah, me too. Me too. My stepdad's making jerk chicken. He's
Dude,
Jamaican, so
if
it's
you
gonna be
weren't
good.
far away, man, I would be at your doorstep because that
Yeah.
jerk chicken, man, that's the
Usually people
deal.
come over when there's jerk chicken.
I know, just conveniently, right?
You're
Hey, what
right.
y'all doing?
We always make extra because you
Word,
never
word
know.
gets around, man.
It does.
All right,
It does.
folks. As you know, a show with no name, Thursdays at 6. We'll be back this time next week. But in the meantime, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can subscribe on Facebook. Arturo, I know you're there. You're everywhere, man. I run into
I
you
try
on
to be.
TikTok. I'm trying to get a little bit more active. I mean, I actually kind of like TikTok. Um, just for posting stuff. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
anyway, we're around, and pretty much everything we do is, free to read, free to learn from, and we try to ask or answer questions when they come, if we can.
Yeah.
So until next Thursday, folks, we will see you on the other side.
Bye, guys.
Take care.